It doesn't fix your exhaustion. It silences it. It is the biological equivalent of putting a piece of tape over your car's check engine light and pretending everything is fine. To understand why you feel so terrible when it wears off, we have to look at the molecule inside your brain that caffeine is trying to hide. From the moment you opened your eyes this morning, a chemical clock started ticking in your brain. It's called adenosine. Think of adenosine as sleep pressure. Every time your neurons fire, every time you think, speak, or move, your brain produces adenosine as a byproduct. It is the waste product of being alive. Throughout the day, this chemical builds up. It floats around your brain looking for a parking spot. These parking spots are called adenosine receptors. When adenosine parks in the receptor, it tells your brain, okay, we have done enough work. Time to rest. It slows down your heart rate. It makes your eyelids heavy. It prepares you for sleep. By 10 p.m., your receptors are full of adenosine, and you naturally fall asleep. During sleep, your brain cleans out the waste, resets the clock, and you wake up fresh. That is the natural cycle. But then, you drink this. Enter caffeine. Here is the genius of nature. Under a microscope, the caffeine molecule looks almost identical to the adenosine molecule. They have the same shape. They fit the same keyhole. So when caffeine enters your bloodstream, it rushes to your brain and races toward those receptors. Because it fits perfectly, it slides into the parking spot before the adenosine can get there. But here is the catch. Adenosine fits the lock and turns the key to switch off the engine sleep. Caffeine fits the lock, but it does not turn the key. It just sits there. It blocks the door. It creates a competitive inhibition. The adenosine is still there, floating around, screaming at your brain to sleep. But your brain can't hear the message because caffeine is jamming the signal. This is why you feel alert. You aren't actually energized. You are just deaf to your own tiredness. Your brain is still exhausted. Your body still needs rest. You just can't feel it anymore. But remember, biology always demands a price. While caffeine is blocking the door, the adenosine doesn't disappear. In fact, it keeps building up, and up, and up. A massive tsunami of sleep pressure is accumulating behind the dam, waiting for the caffeine to leave. And when that caffeine finally wears off, you are going to pay the debt, and the interest rate is brutal. About 5 to 6 hours after your first cup, the caffeine molecule eventually detaches from your receptors. It breaks down, and this is where the disaster happens. Remember that tsunami of adenosine building up behind the dam? Well, the dam just broke. All that accumulated sleepiness doesn't trickle in slowly. It floods your brain all at once. You don't just return to your normal baseline of tired. You plummet way below it. This is the dreaded afternoon crash. It usually hits around 2 p.m. You feel heavy. You can't focus. You feel like a zombie. You aren't just paying back the energy you borrowed. You are paying it back with massive interest. So, what do? You reach for a second cup, and the toxic cycle begins again. But the crash isn't the only problem. The timing is worse. Most coffee drinkers make a critical biological error. They drink coffee within the first few minutes of waking up. This is a mistake. When you wake up, your body naturally releases a powerful hormone called cortisol. We often think of cortisol as the stress hormone, but in the morning, it is your wake-up signal. It naturally clears out the leftover adenosine and alerts your system. It is nature's built-in caffeine. If you drink coffee while your cortisol is peaking, two bad things happen. 1, you build up a tolerance to caffeine much faster because you are competing with your own hormones. 2, you disrupt the natural clearing of adenosine. By drinking coffee immediately, you are essentially telling your body, don't bother waking yourself up. I'll do it for you. Your body stops doing the work. You become chemically dependent just to open your eyes. So, how do we fix this without giving up coffee? We use biology to our advantage. We follow the 90-minute rule. It is simple. Delay your first cup of coffee for 90 minutes after waking up. Why 90 minutes? because that is exactly how long it takes for your cortisol levels to rise and naturally clear out the morning adenosine. Let your body do the heavy lifting first. Let the cortisol wake you up naturally. Once the adenosine is cleared, then you introduce the caffeine. Now, the caffeine isn't fighting a losing battle. It acts as a booster rocket to sustain your energy, rather than a crutch to start it. By waiting 90 minutes, you avoid the afternoon crash. You get clean, sustainable focus. But there is one final trap, a trap that destroys your health while you sleep, and you don't even know it's happening. You might think you can drink coffee at 4 p.m. and be fine because you can fall asleep easily at night. You are wrong. Falling asleep and getting rest are two very different things. And caffeine has a secret weapon called half-life that is ruining your recovery. Here is the scary math of biology. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours. This means if you drink a large coffee at noon, which contains about 200 milligrams of caffeine, by 6 p.m. you haven't processed it all. You still have 100 milligrams in your system. That is like drinking half a cup of coffee right before dinner. But it gets worse. By midnight, when you are trying to sleep, you still have 25% of that noon coffee floating in your brain. Imagine taking a shot of espresso right before you tuck yourself into bed. You would never do that, right? But chemically, that is exactly what you are doing every single night. But I can fall asleep fine, you say. This is the biggest myth of all. Caffeine doesn't always stop you from losing consciousness, but it does stop you from getting deep sleep. Deep sleep, or delta wave sleep, is when your body repairs itself. It is when you clean out the Alzheimer's plaques. It is when you restore your emotional stability. Caffeine acts like a high-frequency jammer. It fragments your sleep architecture. Studies show it can reduce your deep sleep quality by up to 30%, depending on timing and individual genetics. So you wake up the next morning feeling okay, but biologically, you have aged faster. You are unrefreshed. So what do? You reach for another cup of coffee to fix the grogginess caused by yesterday's cup, and the loop tightens. Coffee is a tool, not a fuel. If you want to use it without it destroying you, here is the protocol. Rule number 1. Wait 90 minutes after waking up. Let your cortisol clear the adenosine first. Rule number 2. Set a curfew. No caffeine 8 to 10 hours before bed. If you sleep at 10 p.m., your last sip is at noon or 1 p.m. Rule number 3. Get sunlight. Light is the primary signal for your circadian clock. It wakes you up better than any chemical ever could. Stop borrowing energy from your future self. Start generating it. We have fixed your sleep. We have fixed your posture. We have fixed your caffeine habit. But there is one more white powder that is controlling your brain even more than caffeine. It is in your bread. It is in your sauce. It is in your drinks. It doesn't just hijack your energy. It hijacks your insulin, your mood, and even your DNA. Next time, we are exposing the sweet poison. We are decoding the hidden biology of sugar. Hit subscribe. You do not want to miss this one. Welcome to Hidden Biology. See you in the next video.